Miley Kuniko, and this is my audience. Tonight I'll be talking to you about the results of online versus traditional education. Here's the overview of my speech. First, I'll go over the introduction, then the outline of traditional education and online education, and then the results, and lastly the conclusion. By show of hands, how many of you have taken online courses in college? How many of you have taken classes traditional way by going to class? Well, according to Learning at a Distance undergraduate enrollment in distance education courses and degree programs, from 2000 to 2008, the percentage of undergraduates enrolled in at least one distance education class expanded from 8% to 20%, and the percentage enrolled in a distance education degree program increased from 2% to 4%. This speech will consist of the advantages, disadvantages, and the results of online and traditional education. The first thing that I'll talk to you about is the online way of education. I'll tell you some advantages, disadvantages, and lastly my experience with taking online courses. First, the advantages. You can save money, and it's very flexible, and you can work full-time and go to school. You can do the work at your own pace, you don't need to drive to school, and you don't need to look for parking, and you can go to school from home. And you also don't need to wait in traffic to go to school. Some disadvantages of taking an online course is you need to be self-disciplined, you have to be committed, you need time management skills, you have to be organized, meet deadlines, and you won't have a professor there to ask questions right away. You need a computer and internet that is reliable, you need to work independently, and you have to know how to communicate through internet. Next, I'll talk to you about my experience with online classes. I am currently taking 5 courses online, and I love it. I really like the fact that I can do the homework on my own time, and I can work too. My schedule is open, and I don't have to worry about waking up early, sitting in traffic, and trying to find parking. If you are independent and can learn on your own, or if you're just too busy to find time to commute to school, then online would be the best option for you. I just talked to you about the online way of education. My second point that I'll be talking to you about is the traditional way of education. I'll tell you about some advantages, disadvantages, and my experience with traditional education. First, advantages. You have a professor to talk to in person. You can interact with peers. There are hands-on activities, and a professor will be there to teach you. Disadvantages. It's time-consuming. You have to commute to school every day. It might be hard to find a job that can work around your school schedule. You have to spend money on gas, and you have to find parking. My experience with traditional education. I have taken in-person courses before, and it's alright. I guess it depends on what course it is. If it's a math class, then I would definitely recommend taking it in person, because it's hard to learn math on your own. I never liked waking up early to go to class, and sometimes the professors were so boring that I would fall asleep. You have to be really dedicated to go to class, because if you skip one class, then you'll miss a lot of important information. And skipping one class might even tempt you to skip more and more classes, which will put you in a bad place. I just talked to you about the online and traditional way of education. Now for my third point. I'll be talking to you about the results between online versus traditional education. According to Sloan Consortium, over 6.7 million students were taking at least one online course during the fall 2011 term, an increase in 570,000 students over the previous year. Also, 32% of higher education students now take at least one course online. According to Babson's survey research group, year after year, the number of online enrollments steadily increased its proportion of total enrollments, starting at 11.7% in 2003 and increasing to 32% in 2011. The proportion of higher education students taking at least one online course has also continued its steady increase over this 8-year time span. In fall 2003, slightly less than 10% of all higher education students were taking at least one online course. That fraction has increased every year and now stands as 29%. A way to view this figure is by noting that 1/3 of all academic leaders polled continue to believe that the learning outcomes for online courses are inferior to those face-to-face instructions. There has been some downward trending of this proportion over the 8 years that these reports have been tracking this dimension, but no substantial change. As was the case in 2009, institutions see the effect of the economic downturn being translated to an increased demand for face-to-face courses and programs. Almost 1/2 of all institutions report an increase in demand, with only 11% saying that it has reduced demand for face-to-face courses and programs. Many more institutions reported serving an increase in demand for online courses and programs than for face-to-face in 2009. The same pattern is evident this year as well. 3/4 of all institutions say that they are seeing an increase in the demand for online courses and programs as a result of the economic downturn. The next thing I'll talk to you about is the effects and benefits of online education and traditional education. Some effects and benefits that you get from online education is responsibility, self-motivation, communication, commitment, time management, and independency, which I spelled wrong. The traditional education will help interaction and communication skills, become more sociable, give you a chance to know your professor and peers, and teach you to be on time for class. Now let's take a brief look over everything again. First, I talked to you about the online way of education. Secondly, about the traditional way of education. And lastly, about the results between online versus traditional education. In conclusion, I think that deciding whether to take an online course or an in-person course depends on you. If you don't have the responsibility or time management skills, then taking online courses might not be for you. The best way to find out is to take an online course, and if you don't like it or it's too difficult for you, then you can stick to the traditional way of learning. Online courses give you a lot of leisure time, and it can benefit you in a good way or a bad way, depending on the person. Are there any questions?
So when you take online classes, do you feel that you miss like the interaction with your friends or your peers as opposed to going in class?
Sometimes, yes. But it's okay.
Do you go to class at all? I mean, during the day, are you able
No.
to, or even go to campus to visit your friends?
Yes,
or?
sometimes I go to campus. Any other questions?
I have a question. The type of computer setup, is there any requirements that you need a certain type of hard drive or
No,
for your
not really.
computer?
I mean, I guess you would need a hard drive because my computer's kind of getting filled a lot. But you don't need one, just as long as you have space. Because the teachers always give a lot of files and you have to download them all.
Okay. Thank you.
One more question.
Yes.
So how do you challenge yourself to stay on top of your tests and handing in your homework?
Well, I have a calendar in my room, and I write every single thing down on my calendar. and I look at it every day and make sure that I get everything done. And once I'm done with it, I check it off.
Very good.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.